The Weiser-Little Salmon Headwaters landscape is an example of the national strategy to increase restoration scale and accelerate restoration pace. These field notes cover the first 4 years. For orientation on the scale of restoration, the Payette National Forest, 2.3 million acres, is located 100 miles north of Boise, Idaho. Within that forest, the Weiser-Little Salmon Headwaters landscape is 900,000 acres, and there are 4 projects contained within that landscape. The first is Mill Creek Council Mountain, roughly 50,000 acres. The second is Lost Creek Boulder Creek, 80,000 acres. The third, Middle Fork Weiser River, another 50,000 acres. And the fourth project will be contained within the Huckleberry Analysis Unit of roughly 100,000 acres. In contrast, the more traditional projects on the forest, like Rocky Bear, started in 2009, was less than 1,000 acres. Broadening the scale of restoration also increases the pace for both the interdisciplinary team as well as the Payette Forest Coalition. The Weiser-Little Salmon Headwaters landscape was accepted into CFLRP in 2012. However, Mill Creek Council Mountain was initiated in 2009. 4 years into CFLRP, there are 4 active projects in different stages. Mill Creek Council Mountain has 6 contracts awarded, and monitoring is underway. Lost Creek Boulder Creek has a record of decision. Middle Fork Weiser River completed its draft EIS in February of 2016, and Huckleberry is in the early stages of project design and will be receiving recommendations from the coalition in the summer of 2016. Project 5, yet to be named and determined, will be identified later in 2016. Given the status of the projects within the landscape, the accomplishments to date are primarily coming from Mill Creek Council Mountain. Both vegetation treatments as well as improvements to the road and trail infrastructure are accomplishments during the first 4 years. Let's begin with vegetation. Underrepresented in this landscape are the large tree size class ponderosa pine stands. For this reason, 2 priorities were identified: retain and enhance the stands that exist in that condition, and then accelerate the transition of smaller stands into the large tree size class. Benefits include improving wildlife habitat for species like the white-headed woodpecker, reduce fuel loads, and improve fire resilience. And in addition, stumpage receipts obtained from these treatments help offset the costs of other restoration actions that do not provide a revenue source. The work completed in 4 years compared to the 8-year targets is on track, both for fuels treated within and outside the WUI. In addition, terrestrial habitat acres treated has exceeded the 8-year target. Forest products contribution has lagged behind for 2 reasons. It's constrained by litigation in the case of Lost Creek Boulder Creek, and also by the reporting delay for acres treated with timber sales. Stand treatments like these commercial thins create a footprint on the landscape that move the forest towards the desired condition. Here's an example of a commercial thin. The large trees flagged in red were retained, and the other trees were thinned from below. A 50-year-old plantation was also thinned, accelerating its transition to a large tree size class. These treatments enabled a local sawmill to add a second shift and 35 employees. We can also report progress in the first 4 years on our road and trail system. We want to maximize the benefit for our transportation system for forest management and recreation access while minimizing risk to important species like bull trout. Restoration actions include road improvements, maintenance, enhancement of stream crossings, and decommissioning roads. Infrastructure moved towards the 8-year targets, both for system roads that were improved and also for system roads and unauthorized roads that were decommissioned. Stream habitat was improved. Over 100 miles, this was a result of the road improvements and also enhancements to stream crossings. Now let's view 3 site-specific examples of restoration actions that contributed to the summary bar charts. Note in blue is the East Fork of the Weiser River, critical bull trout habitat. The first example is the Milk Creek Road improvement. This is the primary access for forest management and for recreation. Improvements included grading and gravel. That road crosses several streams. This is one example of a culvert replacement. It was replaced with a culvert of the right size to handle tributary water flow. And the third is a road obliteration example adjacent to Joker Creek. This is before on the left and after on the right, upstream from critical bull trout habitat. Over the next 4 years, the pace of restoration will continue in the remaining project areas, each receiving similar vegetation and infrastructure treatments. Each project also has its own resource issues that need to be addressed: watershed condition and dispersed recreation for Lost Creek, Boulder Creek. At the northern end of that project area, Boulder Creek is a high priority watershed. Actions implemented will move the watershed condition from a Class 3 to a Class 2. On the Lost Valley Reservoir, intense summer activity has created the need for investments to manage dispersed recreation and ATV use. In Middle Fork, Weiser River, the coalition is exploring a new zone of agreement for 2 different types of vegetation treatments. The first, based on advice from research hydrologists, is that the riparian areas should be broken up to improve resiliency from fire. A few select areas will be harvested and closely monitored to determine if the benefits outweigh the negative impacts. Higher up in the project area, the potential vegetation groups 7 through 11 will receive treatments that create a historical pattern resembling that from historical fire regimes. Moving over to Huckleberry, there are 2 resource issues: northern Idaho ground squirrel and wildland-urban interface. On the eastern side of this area, the northern Idaho ground squirrel has a recovery plan, and in Lick Creek there is an important area that merits treatment and consideration. On the west side of Huckleberry is a wildland-urban interface. Treatment will benefit the residents of Cuprum. Over the next 4 years, NEPA projects in the pipeline and subsequent contract awards will expand the restoration footprint across the Weiser-Little Salmon Headwaters landscape. Completed vegetation treatments in Mill Creek Council Mountain will be combined with pending treatments, improving over 24,000 acres, 5,000 of which will receive mechanical treatment. In Lost Creek, Boulder Creek, this project area will apply mechanical treatment to 22,000 acres and prescribed fire to a total of 45,000 acres. And in Middle Fork, Weiser River, mechanical treatment will be applied to 20,000 acres and prescribed fire to over 24,000 acres. The outcome of these treatments, combined with road and trail actions, will be a landscape capable of providing the desired ecosystem goods and services: improved habitat, improved watershed condition, delivering forest products to offset costs, and maintaining a road and trail system for recreation, public safety, and forest management.